I'm nervous.
Why?
It's just for the past week, I've just been nervous every day, and I keep checking my phone and I keep checking my email. I keep making sure my phone's not like turned on, like do not disturb or something.
Is it because you are also in a relationship with Michael's, the arts and crafts store that keeps texting me about deals? Is that why you're nervous?
No. No, no,
okay.
no,
well,
no. I'm nervous for the obvious reasons. Why it's weird to me that you would be confused why I'm nervous. I'm nervous for the obvious reasons.
Did you like eat something bad?
What? No. I'm waiting for the call. I don't know if it's going to be a call or an email or a text. A text would feel really informal, but like I don't know where it's coming. Maybe they would send a letter, wouldn't they?
Yes. Yes, they would.
I think they would. It's just, it's been how many days since the Pope died? And I just don't know if they're considering me. I want to know that.
Of course.
I want to know that. And I want to be ready.
Matt.
Yeah.
I just want to intervene a little. You're an atheist. They're not going to choose you. Ever.
Well,
ever.
Matt,
ever.
I know they're looking for a I know like the Catholic Church has been looking for a shakeup, like a lot has been, they've been trying to, their membership has been down. They've been trying to pull people in, right?
Down.
Their membership's been going down for decades and they need they need to raise their profile in the world. Why not me? I'm nice. I'm charming. I could be Pope.
Okay, sell me on what would you bring to the Popehood?
Okay, thank you. I'm so glad you asked, and this will be good practice for when. And again, I also if there might be I might need to pause this podcast, right? And if the call comes in,
they call your personal cell phone. Yeah.
Yes. So if what else would they do? Call me at work? Oh shit! Should I be at work? Okay.
You should warn your boss.
It drives me crazy if I think too much about it. Okay, but let's practice. What would I bring to the Popehood? Number one, new hat.
Oh,
we've had the same Pope hat.
That's number one, is it?
We've had the same Pope hat for a long time. First, I was thinking maybe I'd just wear it backwards, but no, I think we need to update it. I think we need to the way how. We could bring, you know how people get really into collecting sneakers these days? We could get designers to design new types of Pope hats sort of based on like what's popular in sneaker brands.
Okay. So like a Versace Pope hat.
Yeah, or just Michael Jordan or something. So that's number one. Number two is about the Vatican itself, water park. People think, why should I go to this place? It looks boring. There's all these old buildings, old men walking around. It's crowded. Why do I want to go to the Vatican? We put a big pool around the what do they call the big church in the middle of the Vatican?
The big church? I don't know.
Yeah, they put a big pool around that and then have a bunch of water slides going all around it.
So you want to essentially ruin one of the oldest parts of the country, decked out in opulence and beauty. You want to put water in it? Water.
Imagine a giant water slide going between St. Peter's Basilica and the Sistine Chapel, like all the way.
I thought you were going to say, this is terrible.
Yeah.
I thought you were going to say like a giant statue of Jesus and the water's like going between his legs. I don't know why I thought that.
That's another thing we should start thinking of. Is Jesus really bringing them in these days? Have you considered Superman? Hey everybody, welcome to Save Your Game. It's me, the next Pope, Matt Aucamp, with me, my loyal subject, Pushing Up Roses. How's it going, Roses?
Hi, everything's good. I got my fingers crossed for you that the email. I hope you gave them the right. You didn't give them the Save Your Game email, did you?
Yeah, mattroses@gmail.com.
Oh my God, no!
What?
Be a part of this. We'll get like a million press emails about adventure games, and then one from the Vatican.
They'll send us game codes. They'll send us game codes like Christ Fighter or something.
Bibleman. I think Bibleman actually is a real game. Yeah.
There's so many. There's probably a bunch of, and I bet they're good too. There's probably a bunch of hidden object Bible story games.
They might actually be pretty good.
Yeah, exactly.
Because that's the nature of hidden object games in general.
Mm-hmm.
So take a really dramatic story, right? Put it in a hidden object game is probably pretty good.
I think if they don't have Bible story hidden object games, they should make them. But then again, every time there's very little Christian content that ends up being good, right? Like Christian rock bands are like almost exclusively bad. Christian cartoons almost exclusively bad.
And they're bad for different reasons. So I reviewed a quote faith-based movie called Socks the Magical Talking Dog a couple years ago. Guess what makes it guess what makes it faith-based?
I have no idea.
No, there's one part in the movie, literally one scene, maybe 60 seconds, where some kids pray. And they labeled that whole movie a faith-based movie. Everything else was a magical talking dog that was horrible. Yeah, y'all, you want something horrible to watch? Socks the I think it's called the Magical Talking Dog.
Wow.
Or if you don't even want a deal, you can just watch my video on it.
There was me and my ex watched was it the one you did a video on it, that Christmas?
The angel one?
No, it was like it was like a hot rock star came to town.
That disaster. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And that had two prolonged scenes where it was all you need to do is turn to God.
Yeah. And they're faith-based. This is definitely faith-based.
The whole rest of the movie was I don't go watch.
I mean, The Godfather had.
It's insane. It's the worst.
Yeah, The Godfather had
Not
some
video,
allusions to religion. Is that a faith-based movie? No. Come on, people. Yeah, I almost forgot I even reviewed that because it was such a bad movie. I can't believe you watched it. It's bad. That'll be my other pitch as the Pope. Get religion out of Catholicism. Oh dear.
Get the church out of the Catholic Church.
Put a pool in there. Get a better hat, even though I kind of like the hat.
I like the hat. I just think it could be better. Roses, how have you been?
I've been good. I recently got back from a birthday trip to Mexico City. It was you know what? We haven't really talked. I haven't told you about a lot of that stuff. So we'll have to talk about it maybe off recording.
Well, why don't you tell me some of the highlights on recording and we'll have a conversation off.
So we went on an all-day excursion, which means you get on a bus. The bus has a bathroom. It's a long time. So you get on this tour. It's a tour bus. You get on this tour bus and you hit 3 major spots. Yeah. One is in Mexico City and the others are outside of it. So we started in Zocalo Square, where these amazing pyramids were, these amazing ruins, this really old church that people still use. That blows my mind, and I'm gonna tell you why. Because the next stop was the Shrine of Guadalupe, and and it's incredible. First of all, it's incredible. There's this little small chapel that was built on a hill. And there's a story that goes along with it. I'm not going to retell it now, but you can see the whole city of Mexico City from the top of that hill. It is a trek to get up there. It is it's like a bajillion stairs. I'm just the guy who in the story, the guy's name is like Juan Diego, and he's like told to build a shrine to Lady Guadalupe, so he does it on this hill, and it makes it sound like a small hill. No, it took forever to get up this hill, but I did it. Okay, I did it. And the main church, which is gorgeous, people still use that for mass, and I was just thinking, like,
whoa,
it's so it's a weird conversation, maybe a little problematic even, I think, to have this amazing profound church, but then you have like tourists like going through it as like mass is happening, and like there's vendors selling stuff, and I'm like, man, where's the line? And like these people they're very serious about attending mass, and then you got people like me who's just farting around looking at all the amazing art, you know?
As a kid who was raised Catholic, I'm sure not everybody there is serious about it. Like, there's one kid who snuck his action figures in under his shirt.
Oh yeah,
and he's like hiding under the pews, not like playing X-Men or something.
No, that's me. That's me as a kid going up to the fucking candles and like being like, "Wow, look at these beautiful candles." Something interesting is that I had to pay to use the toilet. And you have to pay for toilet paper at the Shrine of Guadalupe.
Huh. So if you don't have enough cash on you,
you can't use the bathroom then.
What if you had enough cash to get into the bathroom, you didn't know you had to pay for the toilet paper? You could have some real yucky people.
Yeah, that's what happened to me, actually. That's exactly what happened to me. Luckily for me, I always carry a bunch of stuff in my purse, so I didn't. Okay. But I was like kind of freaking out a little bit at first before I went into like my purse and like my pockets, because I'm on vacation, so I am carrying a lot of stuff with me. But I'm like, nobody told me, and like wow. I talked to one of the English speakers who worked there. I'm like, I did not know you had to pay for toilet paper, and she's like, "Welcome to Mexico."
You'd hope they'd at least have like a Venmo.
Yeah, no, definitely not. You have to pay in cash, pay in pesos.
Venmo a certain account, and then the toilet paper starts unraveling.
And then the last stop, which was my favorite stop, was a Teotihuacan. I'm not quite sure. Everyone pronounces it differently.
I pronounce it Teotihuacan.
Teotihuacan. Oh my God. Best excursion I've ever had.
I would love to visit Teotihuacan.
I'm
getting tangled up when I try to say it. Teotihuacan.
Teotihuacan. Yeah, it's artsy. It's beautiful. It's it's unfathomable to think about. And I first went to they have like a little village that's kind of connected before you go see like the pyramids, or they're not really pyramids, are they? Let's call them temples, I guess.
Yeah.
Before you see that, you go to this little village, and you can have like a tequila tasting, like a Mexican like drink tasting. You can get food there, and you can get all kinds of obsidian, which I did because it's all like hand carved. They did a little demonstration. I thought it was so cool. And then you hop back on the bus, you go to the pyramids, and it's the most incredible thing you've ever seen in your life. I saw the Temple of the Sun and the Temple of the Moon, the altar for like sacrificial purposes. It's just so old and amazing to think about. And so that inspired me to go to the Museum of Anthropology, which if you've ever been to Mexico City, that's a must.
It would have been a must for me either way, but yeah.
Yeah. No, it's a must. It was so incredible. Just so much ceramics, Matt. Because that's one of the most permanent, oldest forms of art that archaeologists find. And it's just incredible. It's so incredible. And just these giant slabs of stone and sculptures. It was so, you would like it. You would love it, actually, I think. And then I wrapped up. Sorry, I'll one more highlight, and then we're done.
Please.
And then I went to. So I didn't get to see the Frida Kahlo house / museum. I didn't realize it booked up so quickly. Like I looked 2 weeks in advance. That's not enough. You need to book like almost months in advance. But I did go to the Museum of Modern Art where they had, a couple Frida Kahlo's on display and Diego Rivera's. And it's such a cute museum. I love it. Although the Museum of Anthropology, even though I live near like museum campus in Chicago, the Museum of Anthropology is the most impressive museum I've ever been to. It's incredible. And those were my highlights. You may talk now.
I mean, no, it sounds incredible. I mean, I think Teotihuacan is amazing to me because there was a lot of these in both of in all of the Americas, where these like metropolises, these full, like full on cities.
Yeah.
And we have been taught to look at pre-Columbian times as if it was just a bunch of people in tents all over the place or wandering through the woods in loincloths or something. And no, there was like full-on civilizations with massive roads in between them and giant trading networks. And, it was just cities that looked a little different than they looked in Europe, and languages that sounded different than they were in Europe, and art forms that looked like it was as civilized.
Oh yeah, absolutely. The art that archaeologists have dug up is incredible. It's incredible. It's so cool. It's so inspiring. I just love it. I love the culture. I love the weather. I loved everything. I knew a little bit of Spanish because I've been practicing with Duolingo, and even though I can't keep up conversationally, it does help. It does help because I can read signs, I can read menus. That's insanely important. And I can talk to the Uber drivers, which is really important. So yeah, I had a real nice time. I had a good trip. Yay! And I love traveling, and I hope my next trip is to Philly, actually, to get a tattoo. Because I already paid the deposit for it. I just have to make the appointment. But I want to wait till weather is really perfect.
Mm-hmm.
I took over this entire conversation. Matt, how are you doing? Are you playing anything? Are you? Do you miss Chicago? Do you miss Chicago pizza?
Chicago pizza seems like a thing I should do once every couple months at most. It sits real heavy in the stomach.
Honestly, that's way more frequent than anyone's ever said. So I'm like, oh, really? You want it again?
So I'll tell you a game I played recently. I played Promise Mascot Agency.
You mentioned that was a demo, right? For Next Fest?
Yes, okay. And I keep opening it on Steam, and it keeps playing so loud. If there's been bleed through from my headphones,
no,
that's what that is. So it's by Kaizen Gameworks. They did Paradise Killer, which I absolutely loved, and then Promise Mascot Agency just came out. It might have come out I think it came out the same day as Blueprints. So
April 10th came out. April 10th, yeah.
So I just played it this past week finally, and. It's very cute.
I see that.
It's very funny.
Mm-hmm.
It wears out its welcome. You are basically, you're basically a car. You are a car. That's the whole way you get around the world is by driving. And you are an ex-Yakuza named the Janitor, who just lost his clan a ton of money and is exiled to this cursed village to restart their mascot agency. Now, this is a world where mascots are real beings, where there are real living things that are like there's a guy that's a big tofu who's constantly crying. There's there is your partner, your sidekick is a severed pinky nail. Or a severed pinky with a nail on it. There's little kitty cats with strawberries on their heads. There's like, weird mascots.
Yeah.
So I
I
guess what
like
I'll
the
say.
tofu. The tofu's cool.
The tofu's great. He's like the first mascot you hire. So you get sent to this small town that has a curse on it that any Yakuza that enter it will die a slow, painful death. So you're going to die by entering this town. But this is your penance, is you must rebuild this mascot agency, which, basically signs and hires out mascots to various events to raise the money that you lost before you die.
Mm-hmm.
Or before your boss gets killed. Like, eventually there's like a meter of like, you have to send enough money back so that she doesn't get killed. Now, the town you're in has been systematically sort of impoverished by a corrupt administration. And so you're sort of trying to undermine the administration by building the town back up, by doing favors for people in the town, by reopening all these businesses and then providing the mascots for their various events.
And sounds cute.
So you're raising money and you're negotiating contracts, and also you're driving around this town, collecting things. There's a lot of collectibles and upgrades for your car. And again, yes, it's very cute, and it starts out very cute. It starts like this. It's like secretly a cozy game, right? Like, it comes off really loud and really ridiculous and hilarious, but mostly you're driving around and doing like this business management sim. So and having these like scenes, character development scenes with your various new mascot friends. All the while, there's a plot going on in the background where you're trying to unravel the corruption of the city and try and figure out what this curse actually is.
Mm-hmm. So it's got like a pretty serious plot for an aesthetic that is so goofy.
Yes, there's a serious plot that is told very goofily, and the aesthetic's very goofy. The moment to moment is very goofy. But again, after a while, once you've collected all your mascots, you've gotten through all their, each of them have 3 story beats that you unlock the more you send them on jobs. There's still a lot of story left, and a lot of money you have to raise. And a lot of collectibles that are scattered variously throughout the sort of large world map.
Mm-hmm.
And it sort of loses steam.
Okay.
And it's kind of
I can see a game like this being maybe like overstimulating in a way.
I think at the beginning it's overstimulating. And then I think it settles into something very cozy.
Okay.
And then I think it slows down into something that is kind of feels more like a chore. So
I feel like that is a risk of being a cozy game. Yeah. I don't know if you agree or not, but
I think so.
Yeah, even I feel that way a little bit about Stardew. And I love that game. We both really love that game. But it does, once you've reached a certain point, quote, once you've finished it, it's going to lose steam. Cozy games are going to lose steam over time. That's what I think.
It's when I think it's when a game has I think it's when a game has a certain goal that extends far beyond all the other goals.
Yeah.
Because by then, like, again, in this game, I've gotten all the mascots, I've gotten all my upgrades, I've gotten all the collectibles. Now I'm just managing this mascot agency until I get enough money to pay off the debt and progress the story. And at this point, it's kind of just like, how many hours is that going to be? How many? Like, I wish that I had saved some of the collecting. I wish that I had not gotten all the mascots yet, but it felt so natural to knock those things off my to-do list as they came up. So I guess I wish there were more. I wish that there were more tasks and mechanics that opened up, say, halfway through the story.
Yeah.
So it would make me want to finish. Because I'm at 21 hours now, and I don't think I've been having fun for the past 5.
Oh, no. I think that's just a chore then.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And I want to see how the story ends, so I'll probably finish it. But yeah, I think I would. If you get 15 good hours out of a game, it was probably worth your time and probably worth your money. So like, I don't want to say this is a bad game by any stretch of the imagination. I just, it does kind of fail to stick the landing, I think.
Okay, that's fair. I'm going to play a little bit just for the tofu.
Yeah,
I don't know why. I don't know why that's so novel to me, but it is.
I mean, there are laugh out loud funny moments of this game, and some of these, doubt. And the what do you call them? The mascots are hilarious. When you send them on a job, there's a percentage chance that they'll get into trouble, and you have to go to their. It's just a button prompt, but you go to their job and you see what's gotten them into trouble, and you collect these cards and upgrade these cards throughout the game that are called mascot heroes that will come and save your mascots if they get in trouble. So one, for example, like the tofu got stuck in a door that was slightly too small. So then it'll be like a combat thing, and it'll be like tofu versus slightly too small door.
He's tofu. He can just squish, right?
So then you have to use mascot heroes to take down the door's health bar, and then defeat the door in order to get paid for the job. So there's funny shit throughout the game that's like that. Again, there's a lot that's really good about this game. I just wish that the second half. I wish there was something to reinvigorate you as you start to get tired of it.
That's fair. Yeah, I mean, still, it sounds very unique.
It is. I'll say that. Yes, it is definitely unique. I'm glad it exists, and I'm glad I played it.
Good.
Anything to get me to stop playing Blueprints, which it has not.
Good Lord.
I still just...
Which it has not? Mm-mm. Oh, my God.
Now I've been trying to do the last bits of Blueprints are like these speed run things where like there are trophies for there are in-game trophies for reaching room 46 in an hour or reaching room 46 in a one in-game day.
Yeah.
And these things are so hard.
Yeah, I imagine.
So that's when the RNG starts actually being a problem. Whereas I think a lot of people complain about the RNG, not realizing that, every single room you enter, there's more for you to do. Whether you've realized it or not, there's more for you to learn. And so every room is an opportunity, even if it's not the room that you were expecting or hoping for.
Right. Yeah, but not if you're speed running it.
But not if exactly. And there's like 7 rooms that you need to get, and at least 3 of them have to be in a specific order.
Oh.
And
okay.
It's like, well, that didn't happen. So granted, there are like 3 or I have thought of like 3 different paths to get to room 46 in a single day. Mm-hmm. But they all require some very specific things, and it's so hard, and I just want to give up, but I can't because I'm addicted.
Oh no.
Anyway.
Well, on that note, Matt's addicted. All right. Mm-hmm. Do I have to intervene?
We'll see. We'll find out.
I'm going to get a group.
Let's give me another week.
Okay.
And we'll see.
Sounds like what an addict would say.
We'll see how my life has progressed in the next week. And if
I'm going to get all our friends together. I'm going to get Francisco and Meredith and Dave Gilbert and Alistair. We're all going to throw a Blueprints intervention.
And I'll be like, wait, just watch me play it. And then it'll turn into everybody playing Blueprints.
Guys, no. I'll be like the only one. I'll be like, no, you can't do this.
And then you'll start playing it because you can't resist.
I know. And then I'll be like, let's order a pizza. And it'll just turn into a game night.
Roses, what are we talking about today?
So today, just very randomly, we decided to talk about Zelda. Yes.
Zelda?
The Zelda.
The Zelda. I love that guy.
Games. No. Yeah, so we are going to, I assume we're going to take a quick break here because we have been rambling.
So why don't you throw on Chansey Goldarino?
Oh.
And we'll come back and talk about the boy Zelda.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Save Your Game. I am one of your co-hosts. Yeah. Does that make sense?
Yes, you were
say that right.
Yes.
Okay,
that's exactly it.
I'm going to say I'm one of your co-hosts. I'm Pushing Up Roses, and with me, as usual, Matt Allcamp. Hey, Matt.
Hey, I'm one of your co-hosts.
I'm one of your. That's it. I only have one. There's only two co-hosts here, just to be clear.
Yeah, there's two co-hosts. We're each one of your co-hosts.
Sometimes there's three, depending on if we have a guest. But are they really hosts?
No, they're guests.
They're
lower status.
Lower.
What are we talking about today?
We are going to be talking about the Legend of Zelda games because we love them and because they are action-adventure games. In my opinion, allegedly. What's that?
What's the Zelda games?
Well, Matt, I did not prepare an answer for that.
It's a series of games where you play a little boy named Zelda, and he's trying to. He's usually trying to get a cooler hat. And a cooler
What is
sword.
wrong with you? Why do you like hats so much?
Do you not try to get a cooler hat in just about every Zelda game?
No, you do, for sure. You definitely do.
No, they're a strange type of game because I don't know. They're a little hard to classify. They're definitely action because you fight.
Yes, there's combat. Mm-hmm.
They're definitely adventure because there's exploration and
like heavy narrative and puzzles that let me say this.
Yeah.
When I found Ocarina of Time, that was the first Zelda game I played. That was the first type of whatever this genre is we're trying to explain. That's the first one of this kind that I played. And the reason I liked it and held on to it so much is because I liked adventure games. All I had played were adventure games and platformers, on my Genesis or my Super Nintendo. So I do consider these very adventure game heavy because I don't think I would have liked it as much as a young person who'd only played adventure games. I wouldn't have gravitated towards it. So yeah, I think it falls to me into that like grand adventure thing because in each game you are on a journey, my friends.
I think that word puzzle, right?
Yeah.
We use it very broadly when we talk about adventure games. We use it to basically mean any impediment to progress that you that you push through by thinking rather than fighting.
Right.
Whereas Zeldas are more like a holistic, like there's another, definition of puzzle that like jigsaw puzzles fit into and like riddles fit. Well, I'll explain. If you take something that is logical or fits together coherently and you break it up or remove something in such a way that it becomes incoherent or illogical, and your goal is to restore that logic to it. In a puzzle, that is a picture that doesn't make sense, doesn't look like a picture when it's broken up into jigsaw puzzle pieces. But once you start putting them together, it suddenly makes sense. A riddle, right, is a sentence or a story that is missing one key piece of context. And once you fit that key piece of context in, the thing is coherent again. Zelda is like this game where there's a jumble of things scattered about the map, and each one fits into a particular place as you find the right item or the right ability. Sort of like how a Metroidvania is, only in a slightly less linear way. So that's how I say puzzles happen in Zelda, both on the macro, which that happens across the whole world,
right,
and then on the micro, where each dungeon is in it of itself a little puzzle.
Yeah, the dungeons, huge part of these games, obviously. Mm-hmm. Yes, they are puzzles in and of themselves. That those fit into me like the more riddle, the more I guess you could call logical puzzles. But to me, there's also like inventory puzzles. There's like fetch quests in these games. So I'm kind of thinking of those smaller puzzles where you're talking to like townsfolk that want like a certain thing. And you may or may not have to do these. I think I want to do everything in a Zelda game because they're that fun. But yeah, I just keep thinking back of Ocarina and all of the like the weird little fetch quests. I mean, all the Zelda games, they have those quirks, right? They're quirky. They've got these quirky, sometimes zany elements to them. And you find yourself like, oh, I have to collect a bunch of crickets for this guy. Right. Like, what kind of puzzle is this? But yeah, I love the Zelda games for those like little character driven quests. I don't know if we were going to call them like adventure game puzzles or inventory object puzzles, but they're definitely quests.
Yeah, I mean, I think there are certain situations in Zelda that you would call that you would call fetch quest. You have to get something from somebody to bring it back to somebody else, to get something to bring to somebody else. But then Zelda also has a lot of challenges and mini games as well, right? Where there are little bonus side quests that are skill based. I remember there's one, I think is it in I can't remember if it's in Ocarina of Time or Majora's Mask, but there's one where you have to wait for I think it's like 10 seconds exactly and then press a button. So this is in Majora's Mask. It's called mental training, and it's when you're with it's a quest you get from the postman, and the postman charges like 2 rupees for it, but it is like, he says, imagine yourself running for 10 seconds. There'll be there's an invisible clock that starts. You press, I think, like the A button or something after what you believe to be exactly 10 seconds. And if it's 9.99, you lose.
Wow.
If it's 10.02, you lose. That's
one of those Zelda quirks that I was kind of mentioning. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's, so that is a skill-based challenge. That's not a puzzle. That's not a, that's not a fetch quest. Right. That is just a challenge. And then there's obviously other ones where it's like, oh, launch these bombs at these things in a certain amount of time or whatever.
Oh man, they're just some of the funnest games I've ever played.
It's usually a fishing game. There's usually a race.
I love fishing.
There's usually some sort of
in games. I don't actually like fishing.
There's usually some sort of archery challenge.
I love those too. I have very like visceral memories of being in what's the main, so I saw let's like explain something real quick. You're not playing a boy named Zelda.
You're playing a little boy named Zelda, and he's an elf.
His name is Link.
He's kind of like a leprechaun. I'd say he's more of a leprechaun, and he collects gold, so he's a leprechaun.
He's like not an elf, also.
Yeah, I think he's a little leprechaun elf named Zelda, and he's a boy who's really brave.
He's very strong, too.
He's
fast
yeah.
runner. Can climb ladders like nobody's business.
Does sound very familiar.
Weird.
Okay, all right, no. Give the premise, the basic premise of Zelda.
So even though there's many games in the Zelda franchise and they do have different stories, it's one of those things where they're all connected by like the same characters, the same type of character. You are usually always playing Link, and he's either a little boy or Link. There's always going to be a Link character. There's always going to be a Princess Zelda character. There's probably always going to be like a Ganon type character who is the villain, and there's going to be these recurring species of characters, right? So we have the Gorons, who are rock people, and the who are the fish people. Why can't I remember this?
Zora.
The Zora. Oh, I love the Zora. I always love finding like the Zora Kingdom. There's also recurring towns, which I don't know why everything is like leaving my brain. It starts with a K, and I can't remember it.
Kakariko Village.
Village, yeah.
Yeah, there's a bunch of there are humans and there are Kokiri, which are little kind of elf people, and that is what Link. No, Link's a Hylian.
Link is a Hylian or a human, I guess.
But when a Hylian is... Well, I think Hylians are different than humans.
Okay. No, that's fair.
I'm not positive, but I think they are different. I think they're different people. And I think when a Hylian is young, it looks kind of like a Kokiri, which is why oftentimes he will be in a Kokiri. Like in the beginning of Ocarina of Time, he's in a Kokiri village.
Yeah. Yeah. And you assume he's like a little elf boy.
Right. But then he grows
up
into a Hylian within that game. Yeah. The Zora in the first game were just, I guess we'll get through it as we talk about it, but they were just like little monsters in the water that shot projectiles out of their mouth. And then they, throughout, the later series, they become really important.
Yeah.
An important race of like underwater.
They're like
folks.
They're like it's like a kingdom almost. I look at the Zora, like the palace is like this little kingdom. But I love the Gorons, and they're just fucking rock people, and they crack me up. I think they're so
dopey
funny.
Rock guys.
Big dopey rock guy. I just love them so much. So yeah, even like I said, even though these games have somewhat differing storylines, at least different lores, you're gonna find those recurring things, and I actually really like that in a franchise. I like that. Oh, I found Kakariko Village in this one. I found the familiar thing that is in all of these games, for the same reason that I like the Final Fantasy games. They're all different storylines, and those are all different characters. But there's always an inn that you find, like an INN, not like an inn, but there's always.
I don't know. You needed that. Maybe you did. Maybe
I did. There's an inn, and there's these recurring things that make it feel familiar to you, and I think that's part of why the Zelda franchise is so beloved, and it doesn't get necessarily tiring to see all these things again. Right. So when Breath of the Wild came out, which is more of a Skyrim kind of an open, not sandbox, but open world, I guess, type of a game. People were really excited about it because it had those familiar elements. It had, Kakariko Village. It had your Link, your Zelda, your Ganon. Who? But did you say who?
You keep saying this word.
What, Zelda?
No, that one's the boy, but the other word.
Ganon? Link.
Yeah, what's that?
Link is the boy.
Doesn't sound familiar. But yeah.
I'm sorry, are you trying to make... Am I saying something wrong?
I've heard of the game Zelda starring a boy named Zelda, and I'm just confused why you keep saying this word, Link.
A boy named Zelda.
Yeah.
In what game did you play a boy named Zelda?
All of them. It's the legend
Welp.
of Zelda. It's his legend.
Wow, we need to have a talk.
It's his little legend.
Is it?
Mm-hmm. So let's start kind of chronologically. What is your experience with the first game that's just called The Legend of Zelda?
The Legend of Zelda. Yeah, I mean, I have played it. I've played it. It's not one of my favorites, but of course it's innovative for the time. I think that was in the mid 80s, I think. And I think that was just for the Nintendo, just the good old Nintendo Entertainment System.
Yes.
And it's, it's like it's an action dungeon crawlery type of thing. All the elements are there. It's just a little bit more rudimentary because it's so old. Yeah, I can see why people had a fun time with it, though.
It's top down, and it is this map that's just comprised of individual screens, and you move from one screen to the other, and you're fighting all these little, like, it's basically you get a shield, and the shield only blocks things if they come straight on at you.
Yeah. Yep.
You have a sword, and you can only use it to hit the something if it's in the exact thing in front of you. But this is where, like, a lot of the tropes of Zelda begin, right? You get you meet your character, boy Zelda. You get your boomerang. You get your boomerang. You get your bombs. Your bombs will blow up walls and bushes and stuff that you have seen, that you've walked past over and over in the game, and you didn't know there was a secret behind them, which was a really cool thing. I remember, like, my family used to have a couple saves. One was my dad's, and don't touch that one. And then,
of course.
Then it was the rest of the family would have their saves, and then one of us would discover something and tell everybody else, and then you'd have to go try it. You'd get your bow and arrow. You had your candles that would light things on fire, and that would sometimes open up dungeons.
Yeah. I mean, looking back, it really set the groundwork for the mechanic of the game. I think it even used the same sound effects that we're familiar with today, right? Like, if you open something, it'll give that little yeah, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
A lot of the little songs, the songs that would play when you'd go to the fairy fountains, and fairies that fly around you and refill all your health. The idea of rupees and different colored rupees give you certain are worth different amounts. Heart containers that give you more health as you go, which is why a lot of people think of these games also as slightly RPG games, is because you do improve your character as you go. You improve their armor, you improve their weapons, you improve the stats. Zelda's stats are literally just health and strength.
Yeah. I don't consider them RPGs by definition, but I can see that it has some of those elements to it, some of those hybrids.
Have you ever beaten The Legend of Zelda?
I have not beaten it. Have you beaten it?
Yeah, so a couple years ago, maybe like a decade ago actually now, I printed out, I don't know how you would do this. It would take forever to do this without, and I guess this is why people used to just like draw their own little maps, right? So I printed out a map, and I would just carry it around in my wallet and play Zelda on my phone on a little Nintendo emulator. And I'd have the map there in my wallet. So I'd be somewhere, I'd have some time, I'd whip out the map, and I'd just play a little, like I'd know where to go next, and I'd just play a little bit. And so I was able to do the dungeons in order and know where, the map wouldn't tell me exactly how to solve something, but it would show you, oh, there is this thing here in this screen. Yeah. So then I would know to search that screen for that thing. And I played all the way through, and it was very satisfying. Again, it had that puzzle feeling where you would solve one dungeon, it would give you the item that you needed to solve the next dungeon, maybe that's a dungeon you'd have already seen and didn't know how to get into. Yeah. And that, yeah, it was this sort of thing where you do one thing and it would make something else fall into place. And that's sort of the formula of Zelda and has been ever since. So it was
been
actually
very consistent even even to the most modern Zeldas.
Yeah.
And I think that's why again, it's why it's so beloved, because it keeps these familiar elements. How many people have heart container tattoos because it's so familiar, you know?
How about Zelda 2, The Adventures of whatever
Link,
whatever this word you keep saying is, The Adventures of Link. Must be some side character or something.
I don't know why I played that game. But I did, and I played it many years ago. I think I emulated it because I was just confused by. I mean, at this point, many Zeldas have been already out, so I just wanted to see what was up with Zelda 2. It is maybe the anomaly of all the games because it's really majority a side scroller. Majority. It certainly has its quirks and its translation errors, like a lot of those games did. It's not as Listen, here's what I'm going to say. It's kind of fun because it is a side. I like side scrollers. I like combat. It's fun, but it doesn't have the charm that a lot of Zelda games do. I don't know why. I think it's because it's just so much blander looking than the first one. The first one was cool because it was like top down. You could see more of the world. And in this one, it just is. It's just a little more bland. But I did beat it. And that's the thing that I did.
That is wild. I don't know anybody else who's beaten that game. Yeah. That game is, I found it so confusing as a kid.
It is confusing.
I know we got it and I was very excited to play it on my Nintendo.
Yeah.
On my Nintendo. And if this one is more RPG like. You do have experience and stats.
I don't think there's even heart meters in this game. I think it's a different meter even. Like I said, it's a
life bar.
This is the anomaly. There's still stuff like towards the end of the game, I'm not going to count anything as spoilers here because these games have been out forever. But, you battle like a Shadow Link. And Shadow Link is in many of the Zelda games. So it is setting. It's still using those tropes, just in an ugly way. I really think it's kind of an ugly game. I'm not going to lie.
So then after that, that was in 1988. And then in 1992... on the SNES came A Link to the Past, and then in 1993 on the Game Boy came Link's Awakening. Did you play either of those?
So I played yes to A Link to the Past, which is a very fun game, and I think it's a lot of people's favorites. I know a lot of people are tempted to say Ocarina, but there is something so charming, and just with the updated graphics, and it's starting to look like almost like a Final Fantasy game in those early days with that kind of top down.
Or almost like
it's so
Dragon
cute,
Quest.
Yeah. Some of it reminds me of Chrono Trigger. I know you haven't played much of that game, but it's like very lush looking. The character design is strange because it is cutesy. So we're dealing with...
a lot of stuff in Super Nintendo was, right? Like the Mario looked a little more cartoony.
Yeah.
And, Yoshi was
one
of their biggest property. Yeah.
Yeah. Yoshi's not going to evolve, but the Zelda games they'll get less cutesy as time goes by. But yeah, I really like A Link to the Past. And then I did play... which one had the remake? It's Link's Awakening.
Link's Awakening had the remake on the Nintendo Switch, which I did play. And so both of these games I have played some of and not made it very far. I think Link to the Past, I think I got myself confused. I kept getting myself lost and then not really understanding how to progress.
Yeah.
and then sort of giving up. And I think something similar happened in Link's Awakening, the Nintendo Switch version.
Yeah.
I think I got a little. I think I ended up revisiting the same places over and over and not really knowing where to go next. And rather than looking it up, I think I just got a little bored and moved on, which perhaps I shouldn't have.
That's fair, though, because I think in A Link to the Past, there is a lot of sameness in terms of screen. Mm-hmm. It does get a little confusing. And in terms of like Link's Awakening, that was initially on the Game Boy, which I did not play. So I did play the remake, and I actually loved it. It reminded me of A Link to the Past, like just kind of like aesthetically, it's got that top down, very cutesy thing. Once again, everyone's kind of chubby. And so for me, because I was never going to play it on the Game Boy, I'm just not a big handheld person. It at least made it accessible and enjoyable. It's not a game. The remake of Link's Awakening, I'm not necessarily going to go back and play a lot, not like other games, but I did like it as a Zelda game. I did enjoy it. Interesting.
Yeah, I liked it. Again, I got. It's something that I do think I want to. I do think one day I will want to go back to it.
I think you should. And I think you should give A Link to the Past maybe another try, because I do think it's fun. I do think it's enjoyable.
So here's the thing. I recently, just today, I sort of impulse bought myself a Retroid Pocket 4.
Okay.
Do you know what these are?
I don't.
These are these little handhelds that are about the size of like a PSP.
Oh, okay.
And you install emulators on them, and it's a little emulation device, right?
Yeah.
So this should be coming. I don't know when. I don't know what the ETA is, but when it does, maybe it'll be time to start digging into some of these classics that I've missed. And I've Chrono Trigger's one that I was thinking of, but maybe it'll be time. Maybe the first my test drive of my Retroid Pocket might be Link to the Past.
Ooh, that'd be fun. I like that. Also, you should definitely continue Chrono Trigger, because I think you're gonna like that game too.
All right, so moving forward in time is a big one. So this is the jump from 2D Zelda to 3D Zelda.
Yeah.
This is the jump from a lot of people's, again, one of their favorite games of all time, Link to the Past, all the way up to what is almost everybody's favorite game of all time. And that is The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time, released for the Nintendo 64. It was remade on the 3DS. I've played both versions to completion.
Yeah.
How do you feel?
I feel a certain type of way about this game. I had an N64 growing up. I sold my Sega Genesis and all the games to get an N64.
Wow.
And eventually, so I started, as most millennials do, you go to Blockbuster with your dad and find some movies, and then you go to the video game section, because I didn't have $60 to just buy a game, so I had rent a game. And I saw Ocarina of Time, and at that point in time, I was little, so I'm like, yes, I am judging a book by its cover. This cover looks awesome, and I want to play it. And I took it home, and like I said, I had never played anything like this before. This type of genre was new to me. What I was playing on my N64 was like Banjo-Kazooie and Mario 64 and all the platformers that I still love. But this was different. This was like, there was a serious tone to it. It felt very adult, to me. And I just have the best memories of playing this game. Eventually someone bought it for me, because at that point you're just wasting money on renting, right? So eventually somebody bought me, the gold. It came in that little gold cart.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't say enough good things about this game. I don't know if it's because it is the first genre of that I've played, or if it's because me and my best friend would take turns in Kakariko Village, like shooting rupees with our bow and arrow,
Yeah.
Or taking turns freeing workers in Gerudo Village. Like there's just so much. It's so story rich.
Mm-hmm.
Finally, and like Link's Awakening and Link to the Past, it did some character stuff as much as it could, for the limitations of the tech. This was very character driven. This is where characters got a bit of their quirks, where we can talk to people and form bonds and relationships. And the 3D was good looking at the time, which can't say that for computer games now, can you? 1998, rough year for most adventure games. But yeah, I feel like I'm gushing. I love this game, and I will still play it today because I love it that much. Yeah, so, everything about it. Every dungeon, every temple, just everything.
I also first got it as a rental.
Yeah.
And I played it on my family had an N64, and I remember very specifically, this might have been just some like Sunday that the Eagles were playing, or it might have been the Super Bowl, because I think there were people over at my house. But I remember being so hooked on it that I convinced my parents to let me. Do you remember TVs used to do this thing called picture in picture?
I do. I never had one, but I know that. Yeah, I knew that it did.
You could set one input to like a smaller square TV box in the bottom corner of your TV screen while you were doing something else. Why you would do this, I don't know. But what I did was, while my parents were watching sports, I continued to play Ocarina of Time.
Amazing.
In the picture-in-picture in the living room. And I remember just being so enthralled by this game. Yes. The moment where you're a little kid running around, you're already having fun. You're already just blown away by how cool this game is. You're going through the Deku tree and the first. I'm trying to remember what the first dungeon is.
I guess it's in.
The first dungeon is the Deku tree, right?
I was going to say, I think it is the Deku tree. Yeah.
And then it's. I can't remember. I know there's like the forest temple. Mm-hmm. You get like swallowed.
The fire temple.
Right. That's Dodongo's cavern is the fire temple. That's where. Is that where the Gorons live?
Yeah, it is. Mm-hmm. I just love them so much.
There's the temple that's down in the well. There's the water, the infamous water temple, where you have to. I don't think Dodongo's cavern is the fire temple. I think those are different ones.
Okay.
Now that I'm remembering more,
that could be
the infamous water temple where you have to, you have to set switches that will change everything inside the thing.
I didn't think it was that bad. Like, upon replaying it, I'm like, maybe I just like fluked my way through it. I don't know, but I didn't think it was too bad.
Now, and then inside the Jabu Jabu's belly is where you have to carry Princess Rudo all the way back through the dungeon, right? And if you drop
and that's one of the early ones. Yeah, that was man.
That is also a very frustrating dungeon. Anyway.
Yes, it is frustrating, yeah.
But so all of this, and then you learn you can travel through time and change into an adult and see this completely ruined wasteland of the world that you've already been in.
Yeah. It's incredible. Yeah, it's great world building. Mm-hmm. It makes you feel attached because you can, travel in time.
What you're doing is you're looking at the consequences of your own failure.
Yeah.
You're looking at the quest ahead of you and saying, in this reality, I have already tried to beat this game. I've already gotten to the end of the story and failed and lost. And this is what happened.
And it's sad. Like I found it difficult to go back to like the castle village and see it all in ruins as an adult. I'd much rather be there as a kid where, games are happening and there's a like, guy selling you hats and like, no, I want to be in this better time.
I'm just even the emotional hit of having to erase that future that you've also started to grow attached to. You're preventing it, but you're also preventing everything that you've met in that future from coming to pass is another, it's an emotional game. There's a lot, there's a lot going on. And it's got a little bit of that video gamey plot where if we were to break it down moment by moment, we'd get ourselves a little confused and be like, I don't exactly know what this meant. But, the big story beats are really, really effective in Ocarina of Time.
Would you consider Link's Awakening or Link to the Past, would you say those are open world or smaller than that?
Oh, boy. I think Zelda has always been, well, besides maybe Adventure of Link, I think they've always been open world.
So
you've always been able to do things out of order. You've always been able to wander pretty much wherever you wanted from the very beginning. I think they're all kind of open world, right?
You're right, but for some reason, Ocarina felt like the first truly open world. Like I am running for days to get where I need to be. I'm trying to get the sun back up. I guess an important thing we need to talk about is the mechanic of the ocarina.
Oh, sure. Yeah. This introduces the ocarina, which you have to learn songs on.
Which is so fun.
Remember them and play them. And they will get stuck in your head for the rest of time. Like everybody who's played that game knows do 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 and do do do.
Wait, what's your favorite? What's your favorite ocarina song?
Zelda's Lullaby.
Aw, real? That's so sweet. Mine's that weird song of Storms. Fucking love it.
I had this for the N64 and I had the gold cartridge.
Nice.
And one of my friends stole it.
No. Who stole it?
Who knows? I have no idea. Maybe it's somebody listening to this podcast right now.
You give Matt's cartridge back right now, or you have a problem with me.
I lived in my parents' when I was like 17 to maybe like 16 to 18 or something. My parents gave me their entire basement, which had its own like door to the outside.
I also lived in the basement when I was a teen.
So it felt like its own little apartment. And so I would have so many parties down there. And I remember when I moved out, I was like, wait, where's my, I don't have Ocarina of Time anymore. And it just wasn't there.
That's so sad.
Mm-hmm.
I still have my original. I probably did it. I was showing you some of my gaming collection. I know I have the gold cart in there somewhere. But I feel like if it would have came out, we would have started gushing about it, and I don't recall that happening.
To be honest, I would have probably sold it by now. That thing's worth quite a bit of money.
It is?
Mm-hmm.
Shit.
But so again, you were talking about the open world. I later played it on my 3DS. I played the remake, and it is interesting going back and realizing how little of that world is populated with anything.
That's true. It's true.
How much is just running across completely empty space? Yeah. And thinking about, they didn't need to make it this big.
Yeah. I mean,
they could have made it a little smaller.
I feel the same way about Mario 64. It's just a lot of big screens with like
Right.
nothing on it.
I mean, same with like Morrowind and Oblivion,
Yeah,
right? Like it
absolutely.
wasn't until later that people started realizing this idea. Like, if we're gonna do an open world, put something interesting in every square yard.
Yeah. I think though, at least as a kid, it did feel populated. It did feel like every new character I met and found was exciting and amazing. Yeah. So at the time, because we weren't used to it quite yet, it did feel very populated.
It felt amazing. It felt like even if there wasn't much to do, you felt like you were being like sucked into this other world.
Yeah. Oh man. So
which
good.
led
and you get a horse.
Yes, Epona. Which led me to buying the sequel, which came out not very much later, right?
A couple years. Yeah, like 2 years.
Yeah, you're right. 2 years later, and it was Majora's Mask. And I remember I would have a change of heart about this game later. It is now one of my favorite Zelda games. It's like
I wish I had played it at the time, because it's hard to go back and play these for me.
I played it at the time and I was just really disappointed. It was the first time I started it was the first it might be where my game critic brain first snapped on. Because I remember playing it and thinking, and granted, my opinion was wrong, but it was where I had a strong opinion and I felt like I understood something of the intent, and I was not liking it. So Majora's Mask uses a lot of the assets from Ocarina of Time. And so to me, as a little kid, I kind of felt like this was just a mashup of Ocarina of Time used to just push something out the door to capitalize on how popular Ocarina of Time was. And I was just disappointed. Like, I was like, I've seen a lot of these characters. It looks sloppy. I don't really get what's compelling about this. And I put it down for years until I've mentioned on this podcast before, I took a long break from video games.
Yeah.
Pretty much all I would play is like stuff from my childhood or Skyrim. Yeah. And video games weren't a big part of my life. Yeah. But when I came back, I got my 3DS and I got Ocarina of Time and I got Majora's Mask and I played it through and it's fucking brilliant.
Yeah. It's a lot of people's number one.
It's so smart. It is, when I was talking about a puzzle where you at first is an image that is completely incoherent until you start putting things into place, and then suddenly or slowly rather, it's the logic of it, the reality of it begins to take shape in front of you. That is the experience of playing Majora's Mask. You are completely baffled, and maybe you go and you do something. Maybe you find a path and you follow it, and you're like, "Oh, I'm getting something done." And then the day ends. The moon collapses into the earth, and all of your progress is reset as the game starts over again from the beginning. Right. And it's very frustrating and confusing, and you're like, how do I even do anything?
I feel like that's what I was bumping up against and why maybe I didn't continue with it.
So then there's a moment where you go through, I can't remember the first dungeon. Might be the swamp. You go through a dungeon and you make a progress and you learn something and you're like, oh my God, I can use this at the beginning of tomorrow. And it restarts, and you also realize that something has carried over into your next day.
Yeah.
And suddenly the whole game starts to snap into place. And you're like, I understand how to play this game. I understand how to make progress. It's not going to be easy, but I get it.
Yeah.
And what another thing I like about Majora's Mask is it has little microcosms of that within it. Like there are side quests that will bring you back to that exact same frustration again. There are side quests that have to do with learning people's schedules and learning a bunch of people's schedules and being in the exact right place at the right time. But then doing something to maybe gain a piece of information or something like that, and then having to restart the day with that piece of information and then doing something just slightly different. And so you'll get that experience again, even after the totality of the game has snapped into place. And you're like, okay, I understand. I'm no longer lost and confused. Then you go do like the, some of the quests around town and you're thrust all the way back into like, I have no idea what's going on.
Yeah.
So there's it's such a fun structure, which would pave the way, I guess, for games like 12 Minutes, which I actually hated. But what was that other game that was a Skyrim mod that became its own game? The Forgotten City.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And these like time loop games that became pretty popular in like the early 2020s.
Yeah.
Were Outer Wilds is another one. They're all pulling from this structure of Majora's Mask. And
I would say it's also another standout where, you know, the second Zelda was kind of like, what? It's kind of an anomaly. But I find this one to be a standout.
I think you're right. I think it is an anomaly. I think many people start playing this game and they just scratch their heads and they go, I don't know what the fuck.
Yeah.
But it's a smart game, and it's the sort of game that makes you feel smart as you make progress in it.
Yeah, for sure. I really need to revisit it because it has been a while. I did have those confusing things. And I think when a game is reminiscent of something so beloved like the game before it, you kind of you think, well, this is going to be another great experience.
Yeah.
You know, along the same lines. And it is really different. It's just in the same like skin, you know?
Exactly. I think it is a great experience. But it's so different.
Yeah.
I'm going to mention the next 3 games.
Okay.
And then we'll see because I think there are 3 games that neither of us have very much, if any, experience with. And then we'll see if we want to cover the following game and stop there or keep going. So
I think we should split it in 2 because I just think that's a good idea. Because I want to talk more about kind of these things that we're covering, especially as we get to Breath of the Wild and you know, stuff like that. So
absolutely. So
let me bring up the
what I want to do is mention Oracle of Seasons and Oracle of Ages. Did you ever play either of those games?
I did not. Those are handheld, right?
Yes. Yeah. I haven't played them either, but they are games where it is they are linked in some sort of I don't get it. They have a single plot that is linked between both Oracle of Seasons and Oracle of Ages, and the only way I think to get the like true ending is to beat both of them.
Oh, okay.
Which is interesting, but I've never played them. And then Four Swords.
No, I haven't played Four Swords.
Me neither. You can play it. It was a Game Boy Advance game, and you can play it multiplayer.
Oh.
And have 4 links running around.
Ugh, no.
Why did I say that? I meant 4 Zeldas. Sometimes I say the strangest things.
Yeah.
So this is where this next one I think is where we might stop on, because I think you do have some experience with it, right?
Yes, I do, and I actually love it.
That's amazing. I want to hear you gush about it the way I gushed about Majora's Mask. So this is Wind Waker.
Wind Waker. Oh
for
my
the
god.
GameCube.
Man, I had a GameCube and I liked it for some reason. So yeah, Wind Waker, one of the only games I had for the GameCube, let's be completely honest here, was a amazing experience artistically, because I know we're talking about like standouts, and they can't all be standouts because then nothing's a standout. But this game truly, in terms of aesthetic, was shocking to people. It is a completely different type of aesthetic. It has that almost like that 2D cartoony look to cell shaded, I guess. Yeah, cell shaded art, I guess you could call it. It's really cutesy. And it has a water element. It has a sailing element, which people are back and forth on.
I remember this being so controversial when it came out.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of the other games. No, you're just running. You're running around, or you're using, in Ocarina specifically, you can use that to quick travel. In Wind Waker, there's like a sailing mechanic where you're in a boat that is also alive and talks to you. And it's so cute, and I really like it. And so you get this boat, and you can sail it to different places, and you can like not fish, but like you have a crane. It's not you have like it's like the grappling hook. So you have the hook, and you can like uncover treasure in the sea. I really like that. I don't care what people say. I like sailing in my games, okay? Imagine Dredge, but not the impending doom. And you also get, what would you call? Well, it's the Wind Waker, but it's a wand? It's not a wand. It's like it's like a conducting stick. Do you know what I'm talking about? Like a conductor uses a stick.
Oh, a conductor stick.
A baton, like a stick.
Baton! Yeah.
So, in kind of, sort of similar to Ocarina, where you get that.
Supposed to... Does the GameCube... I'm mixing it up. In Phantom Hourglass, I think you get that too, and you're supposed to draw on the screen. But you don't have anything like that in the GameCube.
I don't remember if you're drawing on the screen, but you're using your baton to like do a little melody that changes the wind. That's why it's called the Wind Waker. Because obviously you're in a sailboat, so you have to be able to control the wind. Other than those kind of weird things that are going on, I thought this was a very good Zelda game. I thought it hit the tropes, regardless of the sailing mechanic. It just took a different form. The combat was very much the same. And it's cute. Oh my God. It is so cute. There is a little like bird character named Melody, and she is so cute. This game's adorable. And that's an interesting thing for me to say, because in general, I like the more dramatic looking Zeldas. Like, for the most part. Like, I like Breath of the Wild. I like Twilight Princess, which was way darker in aesthetic. But man, you bring up a Korok in Wind Waker, and you tell me that's not the cutest thing you've ever seen in your life. I considered for a long time getting the violin playing Korok, or cello, I guess it's a cello, on my back, hidden by my hair. So when I move my hair, you find the Korok.
It pops out.
Yes. That's how cute I think it is. And yeah, very, very similar. It does have that weird kind of GameCube-y vibe, I guess. I don't quite know how to describe it. I mean, the GameCube is not a beloved console, but it has its like cult status, I guess.
Yes. And I think as emulation becomes, as it starts to... As some of these older consoles that weren't very popular at the time, like the GameCube, or even like Sega CD or Sega Saturn, become easier to emulate.
Yeah,
people start finding the gems.
Yeah,
from those
true.
eras.
I truly think this is a gem. Like I said, it was kind of it was looked at kind of oddly, little side-eyed at the time. I think that's mostly the aesthetic, because it is so different, but it's still like a Zelda game. And
Yeah.
I liked the sailing because now it feels really grand. Like I'm not just running across a field anymore. I'm like sailing across the ocean. And yeah, that made it feel really big. It made things feel really big and really epic to me. And
it has, for that reason, sorry, this is, I'm changing topics, but we can come right back. For that reason, it has long been my theory that the way Elder Scrolls 6 will try to outdo Skyrim is by adding sailing. Because
okay.
how else do you make something grander and bigger than Skyrim? And the only thing I've ever been able to think of is, well, you'd have to be able to jump on a boat.
Yeah.
But we'll see. Who knows? No.
Yeah, we'll see.
But anyway, back to Wind Waker.
And yeah, there's like this like little fish guide that sometimes pops up. It's kind of reminiscent of the owl in Ocarina. So like I think it's a very accurate Zelda game. It just looks a little crazy, and you're in the water a lot on a boat that talks. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh man, I'm just looking at screen caps, and it's still. I don't know. There's something about the decision to use cel-shaded art that is very smart to me because it still looks also so cool.
Very controversial in its time.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
Cel-shaded art. Blueprints.
Is this the first time that we see the bird people?
Yeah, it is. It is the base from the wiki. It is the first time you see the Rito, and they come back in Breath of the Wild.
Which I love. Do you even know how excited I was to see the bird people again? So excited. So excited.
Yeah, I'm trying to look, and I don't think so. Some of these, like the Zora, started out as an enemy. Like a lot of the races that you meet start out as enemies in the early Zeldas, but I don't think the Rito do. I think they are just in these two games, and that's it.
Yeah, I think so. Mm-hmm.
Well, I think there's something really special about the Zelda games. I think this little elf boy, Zelda, has wormed his way into our hearts, where he's fighting his way through the dungeons of our hearts.
My heart is a dungeon. Good fucking luck.
He's escorting a princess through my guts at all times. No, but I think it is definitely I think it's a special thing.
It's very
that
special,
we have so many really warm and kind of intense memories about multiple games in this franchise.
That's true. Yeah, that's true.
And the fact that those memories are detached from each other. My feelings about the original Legend of Zelda are entirely separate from my feeling about Ocarina of Time. And entirely separate from my feeling about Majora's Mask, which looks exactly like Ocarina of Time, right? Like, each of them are so much their own experiences, and yet they're all, very special.
I think there's something very special when you're equating a memory with a game that you played at the time.
Yeah.
So like I said, when we were talking about Ocarina, my dad was still alive during that time. He hadn't passed yet, but he had been diagnosed with cancer, but he had not passed yet. So I have these very warm feelings towards that game. And again, my best friend would come over. We would play it together. And then Wind Waker, totally different experience. I'm living on my own in Chicago with my GameCube.
Just you and your GameCube against the world.
Just me and my GameCube and my pet rat that I had at the time. And they're all warm memories, but they're all very separate, and they continue to be warm and not related to each other as the Zelda games go.
And what is exciting about this for me as we wrap up is we have another dozen games to talk
Yeah.
about in the Zelda series.
Yeah.
And I will have more of this level of gushing to do about more than one of them.
Same. Yes, the gushing will come out.
Ew.
You're the one who's like, the princess is being escorted through my guts. She's got to gush out sometime.
She's got to gush out of my guts. Gush that princess out my guts. Well, Roses, I think let's call it here and let's have another episode very soon.
Yes.
Perhaps even next week. Who knows?
Oh my god.
Who knows? Where we talk about more Zelda games.
Yeah, we'll call them the moderns.
The moderns.
The moderns.
And everybody, thank you for listening to Save Your Game. Make sure
Thank you for listening to us gush a lot.
Thanks for listening to us gush out a princess or two. Thank you. What do I want to say? Email us. MattandRoses@gmail.com. Visit us, Save Your Game Podcast on Instagram.
You can follow us on Blue Sky. I tweet about vases and cats. Strangely, not a lot about adventure games, but a lot of ceramics.
And I think that'll do it for us. Check back with us next week. Do we have anything?
Question?
Do we have anything else to talk about? Maybe I'll do this. If you get a chance, if you have any interest in this, I have started an X-Men podcast. It's called Mutant Menace. You can find it anywhere you find podcasts. If you find this podcast fun, at least give it a shot. X-Men might not be 100% your thing, but we do go through the issues and joke about them and talk about them in depth in a way that maybe even if you're not a X-Men fan, you might enjoy. So
true. I listen to it. I'm not like the biggest. I'm not an X-Men fan, but I'm not the biggest X-Men's fan. X-Men's, and I do listen to it. So,
thank you. That's very
Pushing
sweet.
of Roses seal of approval.
So just hop over and listen to an episode. If it's not your thing, it's not your thing, but maybe it will be. And anyway, just trying to get this thing off the ground. So, Roses.
Yes.
I have been digging deep inside myself.
You can't be the Pope.
Fuck. Right. Well, at least I got podcasts, and podcasts is art.
And podcast is art, but art is also suffer.
God.